Hey, it's me, Bobby33, and this video is celebrating the 20th anniversary of Banjo-Kazooie. Now, for those who've been following my channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of Banjo-Kazooie, one of my favorite games. It's definitely one of my favorite games on the Nintendo 64, and I recommend getting the Xbox 360 remastered version that is slightly better. And I was wondering how I am going to celebrate Banjo's 20th anniversary since I already did a retrospective review on the game itself. This is available on my channel, of course, and I also did a retrospective review on the sequel as well. And I was watching other people's videos on what they like about Banjo-Kazooie and how they were first introduced to it and all the backstories and stuff. And I thought, probably give this a try because this is one of my favorite games, and of course, I'm going to celebrate Banjo-Kazooie. Uh, anyway, let's get on to the actual video here. I was first introduced to Banjo-Kazooie through the promotional tape that I got from Nintendo Power. I used to get plenty of these as a kid. I remember the Diddy Kong Racing one. There's also Donkey Kong 64, which I think also in that they promoted Jet Force Gemini's in that same video. And I definitely like the Star Fox one. But I remember getting the one with Banjo-Kazooie. I saw that Rare logo, that logo that was all my favorite games, from Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, and I guess 3, even though I only rented that game. Brass Corps, GoldenEye 007, and I knew if I saw that logo that this is going to be a great game no matter what, and it did not disappoint in that area. I first got the game right around the same time I got braces. I remember as a kid I was scared, and my mom said, like, if I be good and be a big boy and get these braces on, that should get me Banjo-Kazooie. And she managed to get that game for me like a few days later. I remember my teeth hurting from the braces. It was a bad time, but when I got that game, I started playing immediately and I couldn't put it down. It's like the best and worst of times at the same time. Like, I remember my first playthrough of the game. Usually for me to truly love a game, I need to play it like at least a couple of times to fully appreciate the game. But with Banjo-Kazooie, I thought this was the greatest game ever, and that opinion pretty much hasn't changed from here on out. I was like 9 or 10 when I first got the game, and now I'm in my 30s. Like, so 20 years later, I still think Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorite games. And the actual game itself, and one thing that I really appreciate about Banjo-Kazooie is the levels itself. I mean, of course, it got some great music. The graphics was fine, for the time. And the gameplay was, your standard collectible game. Pretty much Banjo is a new move, and you have to use those abilities to, get the puzzle pieces, the main collectibles, while getting all the other stuff, like the music notes, the mumble skulls. But the levels in this game, it's like, I think that game had great level design. Like, Mumble Mountain is pretty basic. It's your standard beginner's level. Like, anybody can just pick up and play that level and get pretty much all the music notes. Even though as a kid I didn't 100% that game on my first playthrough, but once I got older, and become better at video games, I can 100% Banjo-Kazooie very easily. But back to the levels, Treasure Trove Cove, uh, definitely one of my favorite levels. I really like the different locations in that one level, like the sandcastle, getting away from the shark, the light tower at the very top, and once you get at the very top, you can see the layout of the levels pretty easy. At least in the Xbox 360 version, the N64 version, I believe, doesn't have pretty good draw distance, but still, I just love Treasure Trove Cove. Quaker's Cavern is a surprisingly good water level, considering how much time you spend underwater. Of course, they're not the best level in the game, but definitely not the worst. But I still like it, especially seeing Cranker for the first time, that huge mechanical shark thing. I mean, I saw that in a promotional tape, and I knew I had to get this game and see if he's like an enemy, or at least at the time I saw that tape, I thought he was like an enemy that I had to fight. Because he looks pretty menacing, but he's actually, well, not only a friend, but actually a platform from the outside and from the inside. That's how creative this game is. Bubble Goop Swamp is pretty okay. Uh, there is some stuff that stands out. That shark mini game. I mean, not the shark. The crocodile mini game can be pretty annoying. But but what I do like about Bubble Goop Swamp is the transformation, the alligator, and it's not what you do inside the level. Is being able to take that transformation outside the level and find some interesting stuff. I don't want to spoil the game too much. That's for the actual review, so go check that out. But pretty much playing Banjo-Kazooie felt like an actual adventure. But my favorite part is Freezy Peak. I think that is a nice Christmas level. It's like the giant snowman, the scarf pretty much like a giant stairway, and the music. Oh man, it's like Banjo-Kazooie is definitely one of my favorite soundtrack of all time. And I like Quick Arc Words, the way that it uses the different seasons to change the pretty much the same level, making platforms appear or disappear, making the water frozen, or just being this giant lake, and that game from Gruntilda's there, pretty much that giant board game over the giant pit of lava. That's one of my favorite moments too. I can go on and on about Banjo-Kazooie. I love a whole lot of thing about that game. The only negative thing about Banjo-Kazooie, there's actually two. Is one, when you die in the world, pretty much all the music notes versus the items that you need to progress through the actual, hub world. If you die in that specific level, you have to restart from 1 to 100. You gotta collect all the notes, all around the area. So that's a lot of backtracking. Of course, that's only in the original N64 version. They fixed that in the Xbox 360 version, where you die, you still keep the number of notes you collected through the game. But my second complaint is Rusty Bucket Bay. It's like that's pretty much the annoying, and depending on it's just this one part where you have to go inside the ship's engine, I think. it's like this rotating metal thing, and it always gets me every time. And it'd be one thing if I had to go do that once to get a puzzle piece, but I have to go inside the ship to press a button, and it starts to prepare from the outside of the ship to get a jiggy pieces, and there's a timer on it on top of that, so I had to rush out of the engine room where all the metal stuff is still spinning. And even if you make it out of there, you still have to compete with the time limit, and it can be very annoying. And of course, the water, uh, usually you get like a air meter, but in Rusty Bucket Bay, it goes on twice as fast because the water is filled with oil. So that's another annoying thing that is added on there. But other than that, I really like Banjo-Kazooie from beginning to end. Even the stuff that I hate to a certain extent. And my opinion about Banjo-Kazooie compared to Super Mario 64, which is another collectible game, the pretty much the first 3D game. People like to compare these two games because they're very similar, and I always think Banjo-Kazooie is better than Super Mario 64. Mario 64 hasn't aged pretty well, and I guess similar to the original N64 version of Banjo-Kazooie. But I don't know, it's like the worlds in the actual levels in Super Mario 64 felt like it didn't feel like actual worlds. It just felt like floating pieces, and maybe that has to do with the graphics. And to be fair, Mario games always felt like that, even from the beginning of the 2D side scroller. But I really appreciate Banjo-Kazooie's level design, and of course, I think how the game is structured, how you can be able to explore the world, all at once in Banjo-Kazooie, while in Super Mario 64, once you get a star, it kicks you right out of the level. It's like Banjo-Kazooie does a lot of little things right and make the game a whole lot better in my eyes. But they're both pretty good games in my opinion. I just, well, if I have to pick one or the other, it's always going to be Banjo-Kazooie. And that's pretty much my opinion on Banjo-Kazooie. Again, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I also did the review of Banjo-Tooie if you want to check that out. I only finished that game once, so maybe by the time the anniversary of Banjo-Tooie comes around, maybe I'll play that game again and, again, get a better idea. Like I said earlier, sometimes I need to play through a game 2 or 3 times to fully appreciate it. And I'm definitely, in the well, I was going to say near future, but that's like 1 or 2 years away. But I'm definitely going to make another video about Banjo-Tooie. Maybe not like this. And the other game, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which I believe came out in November 2008, so that would be the 10th anniversary of that game. Well, I do have something planned for that game, but my opinion on that game is not as great as the original Banjo-Kazooie. But that's another video for another time. Anyways, I hope you enjoy me rambling for a bit. I really wish Railroad or another company was making another Banjo-Kazooie game. As of this recording, this is past E3 2018, where the only thing Railroad related that was announced was a new Battletoad game, which, Battletoads is good, but I'm not a big fan of that franchise. And I was hoping something Banjo-Kazooie related, but if Microsoft and Rare announce a new Banjo-Kazooie game, I'm definitely going to be interested. Whether it be on the Xbox One or on Xbox brand new console, I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. Even though the current Rare is not as good as Rare 20 years ago, unfortunately. But I still always have hope for the franchise and for the company itself. So this is me, Barbara33, and I catch you guys later. And happy 20th anniversary Banjo Kazooie.